Look, when y'all came to my school, you said you'd help us pick a career and train us and all that so we could get good jobs later. Sign me up for that.
How does a prequel to the OG Power draw the audience in? How do they make us Power fans invested in the journey of not just Duke, but also Kanan, to the point where sometimes we actually feel sorry for them? They do this by exploring the untold aspects of their past, by giving us deeper insights into the origin stories, by exploring family dynamics and experiences that help shape who they became in Power. They can explore relationships that weren't exactly explored in the OG series, which gives us a brand new perspective where we can see the storyline from their viewpoint. And you guys know how I focus heavily on making sure we look at different perspectives in my breakdowns. So even if we know what happened to Kanan and Duke in Power, Raising Kanan serves as a storyline that can break down the evolution over time by giving us the key moments to help us understand their choices and actions in OG Power. For example, why did Duke become a cop? Why was she so cold-hearted and ruthless? And why did the relationship between Kanan and Duke feel so cold and empty? Through experiences, relationships with family, friends, and girlfriends, we're witnessing the building blocks of what made Jukebox. So in the rest of this breakdown, we're going to be taking a look at Jukebox's story arc in Season 3, why she finds herself at a bit of a crossroad, how and why a relationship with Kanan is beginning to turn, and what we should be looking out for next when it comes to a story in Raising Kanan Season 3. Now, Duke is someone who has suffered a lot of heartbreaks and setbacks, and it is actually really sad to see what she's had to go through at such a young age. From Kenya leaving her to growing up without a relationship with Marvin, a betrayal from Uncle Lou, losing Nicole, to reconnecting with Kenya but then losing her after some, let's just say, pretty traumatic events. So she went into Season 3 suffering a lot of trauma, which you could see from her face and demeanor. She was hurting inside. Although something good to come out of everything that she'd been through in Seasons 1 and 2 was her relationship with Marvin, although she still remained pretty confused about what she wanted in life.
Let's sing.
Singing's not a career, it's a pastime.
After the military.
I need to get out of Queens. Now.
On one hand, when she looks in the mirror, this is who she wants to be. She wanted to be a singer, and she wanted a career in music. But after Detective Burke's death, she signed up to join the military, because she also wants out of this life in Queens, which is just full of death, violence, and drugs. Duke knows where she comes from, who her family is, and what line of work they're in, as well as the consequences that come with it, which is why she's always stayed clear of what Marvin's been into. I mean, we can even dive deeper. We can also say she doesn't fuck with what Marvin's into is because Marvin was a mess, which contributed towards him doing a short stint in Elmira. This meant that Duke had to grow up living with Aunt Rock, who she really has a special close bond with. From outside, Duke also knows what happened with D-Wiz, as well as knowing what Rock had Kanan do in Season 1, which was pretty fucked up.
She got us. You know this.
She just has you hit a cop.
Duke knows a lot of family secrets and who they are, which is why she decided from day one she had to find her own hustle to fund her own dreams. But she's also very street savvy and is also aware of the world they live in. The most recent example was at Olympic Palace. She took one look around and named every single big player there was in this club, and she also knew who Snaps and Pop were. So she may not be in the game herself, but she knows the players, which is something you should know when you're growing up in that world. But over to the relationship with her and Kanan. Now, the love that these two characters have shown they have for each other in the early seasons made us wonder even more, what changed? Well, after 307, I think we may be getting some answers.
You still a scared ass little boy trying to show his mama he a man.
One thing Duke warned Kanan in 305 was don't mess with Aisha, because not only was she a nice girl, but because she's also in this girl's group. Now, this also caused Duke to come over and put Kanan in his place, but soon after he went straight over to Crystals, the other member of Duke's girl group. Now, we all know Duke and Crystal aren't exactly best friends. In fact, I do think it's out of both of them in terms of who leads the group. But Kanan getting into bed with Crystal so soon after what happened with Aisha, I think is going to start to break this girl's group apart, and Duke will definitely not be happy, because this is a dream that Kanan's messing around with. Now, let's just flip this and have a look at Kanan's perspective. In episode 4, the older Kanan's narration spoke about how he doesn't like people talking about business that ain't about theirs to speak about, which is what Kanan wasn't happy with in OG Power, but also exactly what Duke did by going to Rock and telling her about what happened at Olympic Palace. So Kanan may actually be contributing towards the downfall of Butter and what happens with Crystal and Duke. But when he finds out Duke was speaking to Rock about what he's been up to, I think he'll probably see it very similar to the famous situation. So when we talk about what changed between these two who had so much love for each other, I think we're about to find out, although I don't think it'll be the only thing. which is where I do want to bring it to Kanan's scar. I know that Courtney Kemp isn't the showrunner for Raising Kanan, Sasha Penn is, but it is worth bringing this up from time to time to give us a reminder for what she had in mind for Duke and Kanan's backstory. Jukebox was the one who gave Kanan his scar on his neck, and we know Duke can fight, so it will be very interesting to see if they go down this route or decide to take another. But over to her relationship with Marvin. Now early on we knew there wasn't a connection between Marvin and Duke. He didn't know what she was studying or how she was doing at school, and the major turning point for their relationship came when he found the tape of Nicole and Duke. Instantly I think Marvin knew he did wrong, but the damage was done. Duke moved in with Aunt Rock and went searching for what she didn't have with Marvin in Kenya. But this is what actually kind of helped repair that relationship. The trauma that she faced with Kenya is something which brought them closer together. And just have a look at how their relationship has completely turned. Marvin's become Duke's biggest supporter when it comes to a music career, but still showing that he's still learning how to be a father at the same time, because he's not exactly perfect, but he is trying. Now here's where the story will start to get a little dark. We all know the older Jukebox was as ruthless as they come. Everything that we've been through from Kenya, Nicole, her relationship with Kanan, her potentially losing her dream, all of these elements are going to be chipping away at her heart. But the biggest turning point for a character will be how the writers are setting us up for one of the biggest heartbreaks in the Power universe, Marvin's death. When we see Marvin go in the future, that's going to be the birth of Duke's villain arc, and you can see how they're setting us up from a mile away. The way they've turned his character around into this loving, caring, and loyal character, it really is going to be one of the most heartbreaking moments, not just for Duke, but also for us as the Power fans, although as I mentioned, I do think it will be the birth of Duke's villain arc. Now, when it comes to the other questions that we have for Duke, like what happens with this military storyline? Why did she decide to become a cop? Why did she move to DC and change her name? Was it to dissociate herself from the Thomas family so she could start a new life without her consequences of her past? It really depends on how far they decide to take the storyline of Raising Kanan as a whole. Do they take it up to the point where Kanan was set up by Ghost, where we see Kanan going to prison? Do they end it where Kanan meets a young Ghost and Tommy? A lot depends on how far they take the overall story. With Jukebox in OG Power, we traveled to DC in Season 3, where we learned she was a cop. It was also said she had been in the police service for 8 years. So when we asked the question about how and why did Duke become a cop, or who influenced her decision making, we have to remember, it was after Kanan went to prison. So let's see if we get all the answers by the end of the show, or whether they leave some open to interpretation, or who knows, maybe even set up another spin-off to show the aftermath after the Thomas family's demise. It has been teased that there are some more Power spin-offs on the way, and one I wouldn't mind seeing is a continuation of Duke and Kanan, where Duke comes across a young Ghost and Tommy, because they will cross paths with Duke as well as Kanan.
And Ghost, he was your boy, that kid. Always with his head in the motherfucking book. Vicious with a piece, though.
Tommy also called her a crazy bitch in Season 4, Episode 7, so we do know both Tommy and Ghost did cross paths with Duke. But again, as I said, it all depends on how far they decide to take the overall story of Raising Kanan first, and whether or not they decide to retcon a few storylines. But with all of that being said, at this moment in time, Duke finds herself very conflicted whether she wants a career in music, or whether she wants out of Queens and a job with the military. Her relationship with Kanan is beginning to turn, which will get even worse when Kanan finds out she spoke about his business to Rock, and possibly Kanan contributing towards the demise of Butter. They're also setting us up for one major heartbreak, which I don't think will be in Season 3 or even in 4, but when it does come, it definitely will be the most heartbreaking moment and the beginning of Duke's villain arc. But drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and let me know how you see this playing out going forward for Duke. Drop all your comments down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.